What happens after we die? It's a question we've all pondered ourselves, a dilemma we've tried to justify throughout our lives, and yet there isn't a conclusive answer to this question. In The Ghost Story, directed by David Lowery, Casey Affleck's character C dies in a car crash and returns as a ghost. What's so fascinating about this simple premise is how emotion, and especially love, is conveyed throughout the film. And rather than focusing on what the film shows, I want you to pay attention on the visual language that is conveyed throughout the film. Most films present a clear-cut interpretation of subjectivity and objectivity, or at least specific scenes have an innate feeling that conveys either of the two. For example, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. Perspectives are used as a plot device to move the story forward and expose the audience to the emotionless and factual moments of Oppenheimer's life. The wide angles used here indicate an objective perspective, as the viewers aren't part of the scene, they're just spectators. Whilst in the nuke sequence, the film places us directly into the characters' perspectives, right down to the sound design. In A Ghost Story, it's often hard to discern between the two. For instance, when the news of C's death was broken to M, Rooney Mara's character, the wife of C, you get this narrow shot, a frame within a frame. It's an eerie, unsettling scene, placing the audience in a more objective position, almost like a doctor observing from the outside. The scene detaches viewers away from the more emotional aspect of loss. As the film progresses, C becomes a ghost. It's more apparent he's more of a passive viewer than an active participant. Lowery could place the viewers in the same perspective as C, being able to watch the events unfold with little to no ability to interact or influence anything. The 4:3 aspect ratio is a direct mirror of this. It's a unique perspective, one that allows you to see into C's subjective perspective, and yet with the inability to do anything but to watch objectively and completely isolated from the scene. The cover sheet that C is wearing throughout the film is a catalyst for us. We naturally project our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions into C, almost embodying him. This is where the brilliance of C lies. He's a subjective creation, one made entirely with our own imaginations and interpretations of death and grief. The frequent use of these frame-within-a-frame shots isolating the viewers away from the scene is not dissimilarly as to how C has no literal presence in the scene, where the lines between subjectivity and objectivity further blurs. Time is arguably the central theme of the film. It's the very meaning behind this plot and the message it portrays. However, I want to highlight another interpretation. Over half the film is spent with M, and the rest of the film moves between the past and the future. Take for instance the scene here. M is seen eating a pie. It's a still shot that never moves, that doesn't change, and it goes on for 5 uninterrupted minutes. There are many shots like these. The film is characterized by these long, unbroken, simple shots, at least in the first half of the film. Time waits for no one. The second half is considerably faster than the first half, and I believe it's intentionally done so. It's a stark reminder that the nature of time is ultimately inescapable. It washes away everything, including the grief and pain, hence the quickened pace of the film. Grief is a grueling and long process near the beginning, but as time passes, that grief is lessened to an extent. Time moves from days to years to decades and to centuries, showcasing how it really is the ultimate reason of progress. What is the purpose of this scene? It really is as subjective as the rest of the film. It's certainly a way someone might cope with grief and loss. But to me personally, I like to believe that Laurie is telling us to be patient. The scene encourages us to be patient with our emotions, to give ourselves time to eat the pie, and to never rush it. If you haven't noticed already, the film's majority is spent in almost near silence. The absence of audio exemplifies the music and the ambient noise when it does get used. It can be as literal as diegetic music. However, I like to focus on how the score and ambient sounds are used to move the audience, and more importantly, how it represents love. Take for instance this scene here.
Are you running late? Did you see too much? All the awful dreams felt real enough. Did you?
M is trying to reconnect to C by listening to his song, I Get Overwhelmed. It is an amazing moment coming from the past. The present, reflecting M as she tries to hold on to the memories and consequently to C. This moment of vulnerability portrays how love can endure, that even when separated by life and death, love can and is still connected, no matter how distant they seem. The sequence immediately following this scene is perhaps one of the most emotional scenes, and the score absolutely shows that. M is seen packing, and as the camera pans out here, the viewers begin to grasp what she's doing. The gentle, melancholic piano and light guitar underscores the sequence, exemplifying the scene subtly, validating what the viewers know. Wind chimes symbolize serenity, a certain peace and hope that's provided to those struggling with loss. Note is never revealed to the viewers as to what's on it, but we know it does eventually lead to the much needed closure when you're grieving. As M leaves, the music only intensifies. It rises, drum starts to beat, and yet it retains its melancholic and this sense of optimism. The score beautifully captures how love persists through loss and change, that no matter the amount of loss, the amount of grief can outweigh love. After all, what is there but not love that transcends all realms?